Before we can implement our Redis shopping cart, there's an important architectural decision we need to make. How do we identify which cart belongs to which user or client? This is especially important in stateless APIs like Django REST Framework, where the server doesn't automatically remember who's sending the request. Of course, Redis doesn't do this for us. It simply stores data, so it's our job to tell Redis, hey, here's the key that represents the user's cart. Go and get it. So we need a reliable way to map incoming client requests to the right cart in Redis. So every time a user adds something to their cart, we want that item to be added to their cart in Redis. This means we need a way to say this request belongs to a specific cart. Now, without proper identification, two different users could end up sharing the same cart, or worse, losing their data entirely. Now, realistically, there are multiple strategies to identify carts. Now, typically the easiest users to identify are the ones that are logged in to our application or service, because if a user is logged in, then typically we can access some sort of user ID. So if we were only dealing with logged in users, then this would be probably a very simple process. However, typically in a shopping situation, we would probably have lots of users who are not currently logged in. For this course, because we're focused on learning Redis, we're going to keep it nice and simple and go with the second option of using Django sessions. So we're using Django sessions in this project for a few different reasons. They work whether or not the user is logged in. They're already built into Django and don't require extra setup. And the session ID is stored in a cookie and managed automatically. And most importantly, this just makes Redis integration easier to follow. So this is how it's going to work with Django sessions. The client, in this case Swagger UI, is going to make a request to our API endpoint. At that point, we can determine whether the client has sent a session or not. If they have sent a session ID, we'll use that. If they haven't, we'll create one. We can then pass the session ID over to Redis, and then we can utilize that session ID as the Redis key for the cart. So our cart ID will be something like this format. So we will specify cart, the context, colon, and then the session ID. So with a session cart now, with an ID, we can now make sure that the client now has the session, if it didn't already exist, and that will then be saved in a cookie. And any other request after that point, the session ID will be used to interact with the corresponding cart. Accessing the session ID in Django REST Framework is a really simple process. To get the session ID, we simply check if the session exists on the request. If it doesn't, we explicitly create one. To wrap up, we can't build a shopping cart system without a way to identify users. Logged-in users are very easy to work with. We can just use their user ID, for example. Now, anonymous users are trickier, but in this scenario, we're keeping it simple and using Django sessions to give us a simple solution. Now that we've locked down identification, we're ready to start building the Redis cart logic itself.